Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our Monday night advanced Bible study, 27th of September, 2021. I want to ask everybody to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification button. And say this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Before we get started, I was going to let you know I'll be reading from Jasher 16, 17, 18, 19, if I can make it through it. With that being said, I'm going to say shalom and welcome everybody. We're going to do our moment of silence for the Lord of hosts and all that they're doing to bring about our deliverance from these lands of our oppressor. We're going to do a prayer, a song, and then go into our current event. Okay? O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David and Solomon and Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. For we know you possess the power to turn us, O Lord. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments and your testimony and your statutes with all our heart and soul, to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people, and hear our plea, O Lord. Hear and do. Hide not thy face from us, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. Here's Psalms. Okay. We'll do Psalm 67. Okay. It says, let all the people praise thee. This is a psalm of Megiddo, not one of the chief musicians. God be merciful on us. Bless us. Cause his face to shine upon us. Shelah, that thy way may be known upon the earth, thy saving help among all nations. Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. O let the nations be glad and sing for joy, for thou shalt judge the people righteously and govern nations upon the earth. Shelah, let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. Then shall the earth yield her increase, and God, even our God, our own God, shall bless us. God shall bless us, and all the ends of the earth shall hear him. Now that's the song, Psalm 67, and it's let all the people praise thee. Okay, any comments? Okay. Okay, what we're gonna do right here is go into to our current events. Anybody got any current events? Okay. Got a couple. Okay. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. It says Senate or Republicans prepare to block the measure to fund the government and stave off for a U.S. default. Senate Republicans on Monday prepared to block a bill that would fund the government, provide billions of dollars in hurricane relief, and stave off a default in U.S. debt. Part of the party's renewed campaign to undermine President Biden's broader economic agenda. And this look at this clown. Okay, the GOP expected opposition is sure to deal a death blow to the measure, which had passed the House last week and threatened to add to the pressure on Democrats to devise their own path forward ahead of a series of urgent fiscal deadlines. The failure to address the issue could cause severe financial calamity. The White House has warned potentially plunging the United States into another recession. Okay. So ahead of the planned Monday vote, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell staked his party's position. The Republicans are now willing to vote for any measure that raises or suspends the debt ceiling, even if they have no intentions of shutting down the government in the process. GOP lawmakers feel that raising the borrowing limit, which allows the country to pay its bills, will enable Biden and his Democratic allies to pursue trillions in additional spending and other policy changes they do not support. We will support a clean, continuing resolution that would prevent a shutdown, McConnell said in a speech on the chamber floor. It says we will not provide Republican votes for raising the debt limit. Okay. Read a little more. It says White House tells U.S. agencies to get ready for the first government shutdown of pandemic. Democrats have sharply rebut that reasoning. They rebut that reasoning. They have pointed to the fact that the country debt predates the current debate, arguing that some of its bills, including the roughly $900 billion coronavirus stimulus package adopted in December, have been racked up on a bipartisan basis. The press also stressed that they have worked with Republicans under President Donald Trump to raise the debt ceiling, even when he pursued policies they did not support, including the construction of the wall on the U.S.-Mexican border. Okay, anybody got any comments on this? Is anybody familiar or aware of this?
I was not.
Yeah, I've been watching it.
What you think?
Well, it's hard to say because we always wait to the last hour to make a decision.
Right.
So we just wait and
Right.
see.
Okay.
That's just more fear mongering.
Right. I mean, just to be safe side, I mean, go get a couple of bottles of water or something. So, it ain't business as usual. Right. Okay. I thought this right here was kind of interesting too, right here. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
It says unvaccinated. Think twice before. Check it out. Think twice before booking trips to these 5 U.S. cities. Okay. It says if you're like me and plan to stay close to home for any remaining travels this year, you may be surprised to know that 5 U.S. cities and 1 resort group have implemented COVID-19 vaccine mandates. Thus, for proof of vaccination is currently required to access certain indoor spaces in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Palm Springs, California, New York City, New Orleans, and the Vail resorts. But there's some says each of these cities accept vaccinations approved for use by the World Health Organization or approved and authorized by the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. That includes the big 3 here in the United States: Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. Okay. San Francisco, on August 12th, San Francisco became the first major U.S. city to institute a wide-reaching vaccination mandate for indoor activities, requiring proof of full vaccination for certain indoor facilities for participants ages 12 and older, starting on August 20th. the mandate was put into place in the effort to curb the spread of COVID-19 among the unvaccinated, while allowing business and schools to remain open. The ruling was particularly broad and reach applicable not only to public indoor events with 1,000 or more people, but private events as well. Okay, San Francisco businesses will accept the aforementioned big three vaccine, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, in addition to those by Sinopharm, AstraZeneca, and the Serum Institute of India. Okay, so anybody got a comment on this? What they think about it?
Well, in conjunction to that, I was listening to this podcast earlier on the vaccines and stuff, and they're not talking about the side effects of more so ladies taking getting the vaccine. The younger ones where their menstrual cycles is totally completely off, and on the cycles for some of them for an entire month before their bodies change and stop that period, and that aspect of their bodies and stuff. And it's talking about there's a lot of other side effects that's attacking women from the vaccine that they don't even want to touch or talk about publicly.
Right. There's yeah, that's what's crazy about it to me is they sitting there talking about they got 5 cities that's got vaccinated, vaccine mandates. But I mean, what about this? All these big old sporting events you have, still have. I mean,
Yes,
it's crazy. It's crazy. How you even putting out some kind of mandate when you're allowing all these
the goal is.
it's crazy, man. I'm lost.
We couldn't hear you. Broke up quite a bit.
Okay, yeah, I said I'm not understanding why why they having these vaccine mandates and they're not shutting down all these sporting events that's going on, all these big old mass gatherings. But you worried
Yeah,
about the COVID,
season.
that's crazy.
That's alone right there enough to make you wonder about the validity of it. If all the colleges and pro facilities are back to having full capacity, makes you
Right.
wonder about the validity of the vaccine itself. Is it targeted for specific groups of people, or what's going on with it? But it's most definitely a whole bunch of fear mongering going on, and
Right.
chaos and confusion, and which
Right.
causes people to act out.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it didn't make no sense to me because I mean, this variant right here is supposed to be way worse than the previous one, but you had the school shut down then, and the school ain't shut down now. And then you're going to the point where well, I'm gonna show play this next video where they're starting to cut off flights and all that. We just read where they closing off cities, certain areas, restricting people. So check this out. Let's look at this. Okay, let this play.
Is finally here. And I am taking this as such a blessing in disguise, such a blessing in disguise. Although many, who were down with the program are extremely angry and confused at some of the decisions that have been taken. So basically, now Yahoo News actually just released a story where they said Biden's visa ban for Africans. But when you read the story, it actually talks about how Biden has issued is planning actually to roll out a new policy in November that will basically deny the right to travel or immigrate to the divided states to anyone in the world who is unvaccinated. Now, this new policy will actually replace various travel bans on Europeans, Chinese, Iranians, Brazilians, South Africans, and Indians. But a majority of the world has not received even a single shot. So what Yahoo News is saying is that this is actually targeting Africans, where less than 1 point, now they're saying 1.9%. Although these numbers, beloveds, don't believe nothing. Even the numbers are a lie. Seriously. But they're saying, less than 1.9% of Africans or people in low-income countries have actually received the vaccine. So they will be the ones who will now be further restricted from traveling. And earlier on, a couple of weeks ago, actually, there was anger and confusion, actually almost around the same time. There was anger and confusion over the divided kingdom's new travel rules, where they were saying, that certain travelers from African countries, as well as, India, would not be allowed, even if you were fully vaccinated, you would not be allowed to travel, or you'd have to put yourself in quarantine, for 14 days. So they were saying the British government announced what it billed a simplification of the rules last week, including allowing fully vaccinated travelers arriving in England from much of the world to skip quarantine and take fewer tests. But, so Kenya has been exempted, whereas South Africa hasn't. But I'm just like, when Kenya is, I'm just like, so what? Are they bringing more of their army here? That's the only reason they do that. Why is Kenya getting all this thing? But beloveds, I shared these news articles to confirm what I told you a year ago. That the time has come, beloveds, where you need to, if you know who you are, and you've done the necessary research. Africa is being shut in again. At this rate, many won't be able to travel, and that has been the whole plan. I think we're the ones who want to mix with people who don't really even like us. But I'm seeing this as a massive blessing in disguise, beloved. Massive blessing in disguise. And so you'd better, if you're in Babylon, you won't even be able to leave Babylon without taking it. That's how they're going to play this one out. You won't be able to arrive, and you won't be able to leave. So we're almost seeing a separation of worlds. And they've already said it's going to take years and years for Africa to catch up. Europe hasn't even caught up. The divided states hasn't even caught up. And so now we're seeing the New World Order take shape. Where does this leave Africa, beloved? Because I think people need to realize we're going back to the 80s and 90s, where no one traveled out of Africa, literally. And you'd better be comfortable and stay put. That's why I've been advising you. Get your extra food. Stock up on food. Stock up on food, stock up on water. But that's not even what I meant. Get those things that you would need in the divided states that you won't be able to get from here on out. Whatever it is that you require, whatever it is, especially like electronics, things to do with like these solar power, the mini solar power stations, things that would help you with your off-grid living. Get those, order those now. And I'm even getting tongue-tied. As I always say, get out, beloveds. I know it's hard sometimes because so many of you write me emails about the various financial challenges, family challenges. You want to leave, your family doesn't. You want to leave, your husband doesn't want you to take the children. So people are in really, really complicated situations. But if you have the chance, get out now before the world really shuts down. Because for some of us who have taken certain decisions, we won't be traveling for a while. We'll be traveling by road or by boat. We'll be traveling by road or by boat or by private jet. Hey! That time is here now, beloved. That time is here now, beloved. You need to be comfortable where you need to be comfortable where you are. Stay put for a while. And stay put for a while. Until this storm is over. And really, And really, I wouldn't even take it as an insult. India has actually, opposed the restrictions. They've, come down very harshly on the divided kingdom.
Our African presidents were just
Our
begging
African presidents were just begging
for the West to
for
give them the
the
means
West to
to
give them
do
the
what they need to
means
do to their
to
people.
do what they need to do to their people.
But the time is here for I
But the
and
time
I.
is here for
The
I
reason
and
this
I.
story matters is
The reason
because
this story
they're
matters is
ringing
because
that final
that they're
bell.
ringing that
That
final
final
bell.
bell, beloveds.
That final
So
bell,
they've said
beloveds.
from November.
So they've said
You
from
can't get
November,
in, you can't
you
get
can't
out
get in,
of
you can't get
Babylon
out
without
of
bowing
Babylon
to the New
without
World Order
bowing
system.
to the New World Order system.
Let me know what you think in the comments below.
Let me know what you think in the comments below. Super Ninja.
Okay, any comments? No comments? Okay, yeah, so, I it kind of got me feeling a certain type of way because, I mean, like I said, they're talking about, stopping the visas, stopping people from coming in, stopping people from going out. I mean, you know, it's like these are all little like subliminal messages they're sending out, and I think it's something going to go on with that debt ceiling thing too with the Senate, with the Republicans. You know how diabolical they are, so I think something going to come of that. So yeah, let me deal with this R. Kelly thing for a minute. See if we can got any comments on that. Let me play this right quick. Okay.
18 teenagers from all over the country.
Yeah, so it says right here that R. Kelly verdict. R&B star found guilty on all counts in New York sex trafficking trial. R&B star R. Kelly has been convicted in New York following a week-long trial featuring graphic testimony from dozens of accusers. It says the jury of 7 men, 5 women found 50-year-old guilty Monday on all 9 counts of sex trafficking and racketeering. On just the second day of deliberations, Kelly remained motionless, eyes downcast as the verdict was read. The charges were based on an argument that the entourage of managers and aides who helped the singer meet girls and keep them obedient and quiet amounted to a criminal enterprise under the federal law, originally aimed at stopping organized crime. Right? Okay. Kelly was also convicted of criminal counts accusing him of violating the Mann Act, which makes it illegal to take anyone across the state lines for any immoral purpose. Kelly's lawyer, Devera Kanik, said he was disappointed by the verdict. I think I'm even more disappointed the government brought the case in the first place, given all the inconsistencies that Kanik said. Okay, he says the charges date back decades and stem from 6 complaining witnesses including the late singer Aaliyah, called Jane Doe number one by the prosecutors. Kelly's real name is Robert Sylvester Kelly. Didn't take the stand during this trial. Kelly has been behind bars since his arrest in July 2019. Sentencing is scheduled for May 4th. Michael Irvin Leonard, one of Kelly's lawyers in a similar federal case against him pending in Chicago, told the U.S. Today he was surprised by the verdict. I was optimistic that on the main charges, the racketeering charges, he would be found not guilty. Leonard said. The nature of racketeering, influence, and corruption organization, RICO, uh, case typically fits that of a mafia or a drug kingpins directing their underlings to do various illegal things. And this is a far different scenario. I didn't think the jury would believe that Kelly and the band was a criminal enterprise. Miller said the late sentencing date of Kelly is not standard. Usually federal judges set sentences 90 to 120 days out, but it's not unheard of. It may be a result of judges' schedule and also COVID-19 precautions. Okay, any comments on this?
Have traveled to this remote country.
What anybody think? Anybody got any thoughts on that?
He deserves every bit of what he's gonna get.
Okay. I think so. Anybody else? I mean, I'm thinking it's kind of weird, though. Like I said, like the brother was saying, how they saying that, uh, he's they charging them on racketeering charges. I mean, I'm lost on that one. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he don't come up missing. Just like the other guy, Epstein. He knows something. The reason why they brought all these charges on him, just like Bill. Oh,
Right.
yeah, he done something because he noticed the first time he had 14 counts, and that was done away with. And then it came back. All of a sudden, they came back. It's like there's something he ain't doing or something. He threatened him or something. Something went on. And they throw the book at him. Okay.
That's the Illuminati stuff right there. That stuff we don't know nothing about.
Right. Baphomet. This song? Yeah, so with that being said, I'm gonna open it up now for any comments or questions about anything that anybody want to bring up or talk about, or that they've been dealing with, and then we're gonna go from there and go into the lesson.
Hey, funny to me, it was funny. In my neighborhood, there's been some complaints. Well, one guy is complaining. He said he talked to several other people that they don't like the fact that the way we have our cameras on our houses, and we
Okay.
shouldn't have cameras on our houses. There's no reason for it. And
Okay.
he was talking to one of the neighbors, and the neighbor brought it to my attention. And the guy who was complaining went to 4 black people's houses and trying to tell us how we shouldn't have stuff on our houses. But
Okay.
the situation turned out to be, hey, why don't you, instead of complaining about us, why don't you go around talking to your the ones who you're supposedly talking to, and tell them, hey, why does you guys feel so compelled to bring your dogs into our yards and pee and poop and stuff like that in our yards?
Okay.
That's part of the reason why we do have our cameras, to catch you guys and make sure you don't do it, because the way you do it is very obvious you're doing it intentionally. But he told one of our neighbors that he felt that we shouldn't have cameras, and there was no need for us to have cameras.
And this song?
Went to all black folks' houses.
Yeah, that's kind of ironic, man. Because I don't know if anybody on here know about it, but they got this movie out now called Karen. Based off of Karen. Like how Karen going nuts all of a sudden, the white girl. So they got this movie out. This came out called Karen, and that was one of the main things on the movie was cameras was being set up on people's houses outside their houses. It was a big thing in the movie. That's kind of ironic, man. Yeah.
I hadn't seen the movie yet, but I'm going to watch it this weekend.
Yeah.
But
Called Karen. They're doing the most, man.
And the concerning part about it, he said he's conversated with multiple other people, and if you see the setting of our houses, it's more of us in the general location where we're at than it is them. So
Right.
people that don't have anything to do on our streets and things like that, they say that we shouldn't have them.
Right. You think so?
It's crazy telling other grown folks how they supposed to conduct their own home.
Okay. You think so? Yeah, I'm gonna play this right here before I go because it's tied to. I was talking maybe a week or so ago about Ezekiel 37, the end of it, when it's Most High says he's going to put, the stick of the stick of Judah and his companions together, and then he's going to put the stick of Joseph, Ephraim, and his companions together. And I was showing you how that Haiti is the Levites, and but Judah got another companion with him is Benjamin, and that's predominantly Caribbeans and Jamaica, that area. That's what Benjamin said. So we're gonna check this out, and I said that look for that. If Levi that showed up, then look for Benjamin to show up too, for confirmation.
I did a story about how the first ever meeting between the Caribbean community and the African Union took place or was taking place
Caribbean.
on Thursday. They had a live stream up. Many, presidents and prime ministers spoke. Really, there were many good wins, which is why I'm here today. Because a lot of you asked me what were the tangibles, what were the things, what were the concrete kind of resolutions that affect I and I's life, and that's and there was some amazing ones, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. Just some of the things that were discussed and the direction that they're going into, and of course there were those who believed like nothing will happen. Most of them are puppets. This is just for show. But beloveds, it's all so significant. The fact that the first ever meeting was hosted by the Eastern Gate, Kenya has its own significance, beloved, and just even the energy they put together. I've always said we've got to look at these things spiritually, otherwise we totally miss the point. And if we look at what happened spiritually, as I told you, it was like the seats of power came together and there was a unification that happened at that top level, which now, orchestrates things and makes it easier at such a time as this, beloved. That's also what got me excited, the timing. Like, it was supposed to happen in 2020, which would have been epic, but, it happened now. Like, it couldn't be stopped. Because with everything that happened with COVID and everything, they were trying to, it was postponed, et cetera, et cetera. I personally wish that they had met physically, but, the virtual is good enough. Although now they've taken down
it's the
live feed. So it's either some people recorded it or some people have snippets. I'm not sure if they're going to put it up in the, on the African Union page or the CARICOM page, but we'll see. I'll definitely let you guys know if they do that. I'll pin a comment or something like that. So some of the concrete proposals, and I really want to...
So what it is the first African and Caribbean summit.
the person who sent this to me. These have actually been put together by the ambassador to CARICOM, David Commission, and he's so that's who he's even put his address here. But he was saying, some of the concrete proposals made at the first ever Africa CARICOM summit by Prime Ministers Brown and Motley. So Antigua and Barbados, they pushed for the establishment of a forum of African and Caribbean states to be coordinated jointly by the Secretariat of CARICOM and the African Union. They designated the 7th of September as African Caribbean Day, and they said they'll be staging an annual CARICOM summit on the September 7th. And this is definitely something that even if they're declaring it, it's very close, beloveds. Actually, when I'm recording this, it's actually the Ethiopian New Year. It's very close to the New Year calendar of our original seasons. So everything is it's deep. And what if we were to take this day on to give it other, spiritual dimensions? Something to think about. Let me know in the comments. So they said, charge the Secretariats of CARICOM and the African Union to produce within 6 months an Africa CARICOM charter and a memorandum for understanding for the operationalization of the forum. And this is the amazing one. They want to establish a multilateral air service agreement between the African Union and CARICOM so that there could be direct flights from various different African countries directly to the Caribbean. Signing of a double taxation agreement, also, a huge proposal between the African Union and CARICOM, which would mean that if you're living and working, like now, for example, right now as YouTubers in Africa, we're getting a double taxation where the divided states is withholding taxes, and then we also pay taxes here. So so there's a lot of those double taxation agreements because countries aren't in alignment, but now they're saying that they would actually scrap that. And the big one that everyone is really hoping actually materializes is the removal of visas for Africans to allow hassle-free travel to the Caribbean and vice versa. And these are actually the proposals by the Caribbean side. These are Prime Minister Gaston Brown of Antigua and Barbuda. That sounds like a Mzungu name, I don't know, but but that's basically one of the things we're looking for. Removal of visas, beloveds. That would be absolutely huge. And also for CARICOM nationals traveling to Africa, huge, huge, huge. So Barbados, they actually proposed the establishment of a regular weekly direct airline flight between African country and one CARICOM member state, even if it means that the African Union and CARICOM may have to provide some modest financial or other support to the commencement phase of such a venture.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments? Any comments? I think that's huge, man. I really do. So, nobody have no comments. I'm gonna go on to the class.
Yeah, I got a quick question.
Okay, what you got?
Ezekiel 44, verse 1, 2, and 3. Is that Prince? Is that going to be David?
Let me see it. Ezekiel what? 44?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get it. 44.
Yeah, verse 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, it says, then he brought me back by the way of the gate of the outward sanctuary, was looking toward the east, and it was shut. Then said the Lord unto me, this gate shall be shut. It shall be not be open. No man shall enter in by it, because the Lord, the God of Israel, have entered in by it. Therefore it shall be shut. It is for the prince. The prince, he shall sit in it to eat bread before the Lord. he shall enter in by the way of the porch of that gate, and he shall go out by the way of that the same. Then brought he me the way of the north gate before the house of the Lord, before the house, and looked, and behold, the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord. And I fell upon my face. And the Lord said unto me, Son of man, mark well, and behold with thine eyes, and hear with thine ears all that the Lord will say unto thee concerning all the ordinances of the house of the Lord, and all the laws thereof, and mark well the entering of the house with every going forth for the sanctuary. So that's the son. You know, like it says that Most High gonna always have a son in front of him from David's lineage, right?
Right.
That's the prince.
That's
So he
not
says,
David.
no. He says, I mean, if you go back to all the kings, you
Uh-huh.
know, first, second, and kings, all the kings all the kings that existed in Israel. Just dealing with the feast days and all that. So it says, then he brought me back by the way of the gate of the outward sanctuary, gate of the outward sanctuary, was looking toward the east. It was shut, right? Then said the Lord, this Lord host, right?
Right.
Unto me, talking to Ezekiel, this gate shall be shut. It is not to be open, and no man, see that, no man shall enter in it in by it. So the gate shut. No man can go in there because that's what the Lord hosts come in there. Because the Lord, the God of Israel, have entered in by it, therefore it is shut. 3, it is for the prince, and the prince he shall set in it to eat bread before the Lord. See that? Before the Lord.
Right.
See that? He
Yeah.
shall enter in by the way of the porch. So when you understand, I don't know if you know about that, Solomon added a porch to the temple. Solomon was the one added a porch to the temple just for that.
Okay.
The porch, you can Google that.
Uh-huh.
Solomon porch. Google Solomon porch. It says,
Okay.
so it says, and it is for the prince that the prince he shall set in it to eat bread before the Lord, and he shall enter in by the way of the porch. See that? Of that gate, he shall go out by the way of the same. So he can't come through the gate because it's closed. So
Uh-huh.
he got to come in through the porch.
Okay.
That's what Solomon did.
All right.
Right. Okay. Is anybody else got anything before we move forward? Okay. So I'm in Joshua chapter 16. Okay. Let me get it. Joshua chapter 16, start reading verse 1. It says, where we at is we dealing with the time frame when a lot was taken by those the kings that was going to have they was in a, there was a battle going on between the kings of the Canaanites in the land of Canaan, and Lot got caught up in it, and Abraham had to rescue him. So, but there's a lot more entangled in that. And that's one of the reasons I'm reading it. It says, at that time, Chaldemander, king of Edom, sent all the neighboring kings to Nimrod, king of Shinar, who was then under his power. So see that right there? I told you about that earlier, but it says Nimrod. When you go back and read, Nimrod was running everything at the Tower of Babel. But then Most High came and shut it down, and Nimrod fell from his power. He wasn't killed. He wasn't consumed, but he fell from his power. Now Nimrod is subject to this king right here, Chaldemander. So it says Nimrod, king of Shinar, who was being under his power. So he lost his position. To Tidal, king of Gilead, and Arad, king of Elzah, with whom he made a covenant, saying, "Come up to me and assist me, that we may smite all the towns of Sodom and its inhabitants, for they have rebelled against me these 13 years. So it's five more kingdoms, five more kingdoms that came up since when the Most High judged Babylon, that what Nimrod had going on. Five more popped up, and so this king right here, they subject to him, but they don't rebel from him. They don't want to live. They don't want to pay no tribute to him. They don't want to deal with him. So they rebel. So he's coming with Nimrod and these other kings to bring them back in line, shut them down. It says, and these four, verse 2, and these four kings went up with all their camps, about 800,000 men, and they went as they were and smote every man they found in their road. And the five kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Edom, Shimber, king of Zebiah, Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, and Bela, king of Zoar, went out to meet them, and they all joined together in the valley of Sidon. It says, and these 9 kings made war in the valley of Zidon, and the king of Sodom and Gomorrah was smitten before the king of Edom. And the valley of Zidon was full of lion pits, and the kings of Edom pursued the kings of Sodom, and the kings of Sodom with their camps fled and fell into the lion pits, and all remained went to the mountains for safety. And the 5 kings of Edom came after them and pursued them to the gates of Sodom, and they took all that was in Sodom, and they plundered all the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they also took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, and his property, and they seized all the goods of the city of Sodom, and they went away. And Eunuch, Abraham's servant, who was in the battle, saw this, told Abraham all that the kings had done to the cities of Sodom, and that Lot was taken captive by them. And Abraham heard this, and he rose up with about 318 men, and they were with him. And he that night pursued these kings and smote them, and they all fell before Abraham and his men, and there were none remaining but the 4 kings who fled, and they went each to his own road. Right. So, what you have to understand right here, these giants, all different size giants. This was all over Canaan, even these giants with Abraham right here. So there's no way he can smite these other kings if he ain't got no power, no giants with him. So it says right here, 7, Abraham heard this, and he rose up with about 318 men, these giants that were with him. And he that night pursued these kings and smote them, and they all fell before Abraham and his men. There was none remaining but the 4 kings who fled, and they went each his own road to his own road. It says, and Abraham recovered the property of Sodom. So that Abraham recovered all the property of Sodom, and he also recovered Lot and his property, his wives and his little ones, and all belonging to him. So that Lot lacked nothing. So notice these kings came, just like we see gonna happen in Ezekiel 38. They're gonna come up and take a spoil. That's how they get rich. So they came and plundered all them cities in Sodom and Gomorrah, that whole area. They plundered all of it, even got Lot of his stuff. Abraham backdoored them, plundered them, and it says right here, Abraham recovered all the property of Sodom. So Abraham got all that. He got all that, and he also recovered Lot and his property, and his wives, his little ones, and all belonging to him. So that Lot lacked nothing. So remember that. See that when he returned from smiting these kings, he and his men passed the valley of Sidon, where the kings had made war together. And Berkah, king of Sodom, and the rest of his men that were with him went out from the lion pits into which they had fallen to meet Abraham and his men. So these guys, they got knocked off by Master, whatever his name is, and so they coming back from. They see Abraham coming. He didn't acquire all this wealth, and so 11 right here it says, and Adonizek, which is Melchizedek, they fumbling with it. And then Melchizedek, king of Jerusalem. See that? The same with Shem. So we've been fumbling with that. We see who Melchizedek is. It ain't JC. And this is where the Hashem come in at. And Melchizedek, king of Jerusalem, the same was Hashem, went out with his men to meet Abraham and his people with bread and wine, right? And they remained together in the valley of Malik. So you say, whoa, what you talking about? Let's look at that. We're gonna make this plain. It's a whole lot of supernatural stuff going on with that. So I'm in Genesis 18. Genesis 18 says 3 men came to Abraham, right? And then Abraham ran and got bread and fetched and water and all that for them. And then verse 8 says, and he took the butter and the milk and the calves which he had dressed and sat it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. Same thing going on right here. Just except that these giants, but over there in Genesis, those are angels, angelic beings. So anyway, let me get says 11, and Melchizedek, king of Sodom, king of Jerusalem, the same with Hashem, went out with his men and met Abraham and his men with bread and wine, and they remained together in the valley of Melech, right there. Same thing I just showed you. They coming together in agreement. It says, and Melchizedek blessed Abraham. So Hashem blessed Abraham, and Abraham gave Shem the 10th from all that he had brought from the spoils of his enemies. For Melchizedek, Shem was a priest, see that, before God. So if Shem is a priest, then that means Adam, all the men before the flood. That's the priesthood of Melchizedek right there. Ain't got a damn thing to do with Jesus. See that? If Shem is a Melchizedek, he a priest. I mean, all the ones before him, the ones that the Most High called out in Genesis chapter 5, they all priests, and they all leading up to Abraham, up to Shem. That's the order of Melchizedek right there. JC ain't got nothing to do with it. See that? So, 13, and all the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, who were there with their servants, approached Abraham. Look at this. They approached Abraham and begged, see that, of him to return them their servants whom he had made captive, and take unto himself all the property. Watch this. 14. Abraham answered the kings of Sodom, saying, as the Lord liveth, which created heaven and earth, and who redeemed my soul from all affliction, and who delivered me this day from my enemies, and gave them into my hand, I will not take anything belonging to you, that you may not boast tomorrow, saying, Abraham became rich from our property that he saved. So let's look at that, because I don't know if nobody else caught that, but I'm gonna show you what time it is. So in the church house, in Seventh-day Adventist, and pretty much everywhere else, the rabbis, they saying that these men offered, these kings came and offered Abraham riches. They came and offered him, and Abraham said, no, I don't want nothing from you. You can keep your stuff. The Lord provide for me, but it's just the opposite. Abraham got all of it. When he knocked all those people off, and got all the spoils that they had taken from Sodom and Gomorrah and all the cities in the plains. And it says right here, 13, Joshua 16:13, and all the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah who were there with their servants approached Abraham and begged of him to return. Abraham got all the goods. They ain't got them. They asked Abraham to return it to them, their servants whom he had made captive, and to take unto him all the property. And Abraham answered the kings of Sodom, saying, as the Lord, so Abraham sitting there standing on all this. See, they told us a lie. Like I told you, these people got hold to our records and start denigrating our forefathers. Abraham answered the kings of Sodom, saying, as the Lord liveth, who created heaven and earth, and who redeemed my soul from all affliction, and who delivered me this day from my enemies, and gave them into my hands, I will not take anything belonging to you. See, he don't want it. He got possession of it, but he don't want it. See that? That you may not boast tomorrow, saying, Abraham became rich from our property that he saved. See that? So what the Lord host did was put Abraham in charge. You know, he got all the goods. So now Abraham in the position to mete it out. And he gave them all their stuff. Gave it back to them. But the lie he told us is the other way around. So he gave it all back to him, right? And so he said, and the reason why I'm getting it back, so later on you won't say that you know, I'm sitting up here with everything, I'm rich because I took all y'all stuff. He gave it back to him. 15, for the Lord my God, in whom I trust, said unto me, thou shalt lack nothing, for I will bless thee in all thy works of thy hands. See that? You're going to get it from what you're doing. You ain't going and robbing and pillaging people and get it. It's from the works of your hands. I'm going to bless you. So, 16, and now therefore, behold, here is all belonging to you. See that? He giving it to them. They ain't coming to give him nothing. Take it and go. As the Lord liveth, I will not take from you, from a living soul down to the shoelace or a thread, excepting the expense of the food of those who went out with me to battle, as also the portion of the men who went with me, Anar, Ashkel, and Mamre. See that? See that Mamre? That's the same giant where Abraham was at his tent. I just went to chapter 18. Let's look at it. Go back to Genesis 18. So like I was saying before, I ain't write this, so I ain't just hollering out this giant just for the hell of it, to make for a good conversation. So I'm in Genesis 18. Genesis 18, verse 1. And the Lord appeared unto me in the plains of Mamre. See that? There go the giant over there with Abraham. Abraham was in his area, in his lane. See that? Okay. Ain't nothing I concocted. So this is 16. Okay, 16. And now therefore, behold, here is all belonging to you. Take it and go. As the Lord liveth, I will not take from you, or from a living soul down to the shoelace or thread, excepting the expense of the food that or those that went out with me to battle, as also the portion of the men who went with me, Anar, Ashkel, Mamre, these giants. They and their men, as well as those who had remained to watch the baggage. They shall take their portion of the spoils. And the kings of the Sodom gave Abraham according to all that he said, and they pressed him to take the whatever he chose, but he would not. See that? So he went away. So he sent them away, the kings of Sodom and the remainder of their men, and he gave them orders about Lot. And they went to their respective places. And Lot, his brother's son, he also sent away with his property. And he went with them, and Lot returned to his home, to Sodom, and Abraham and his men returned to their home, to the plains of Mamre. See that? His giant. He said right what his giants is. So, like I said before, Abraham staying right here, and man, do that make Abraham a giant? No, I don't make him no giant. It's a geographical location. See that? Which is in Hebrew, right? If you don't know about Hebrew, that's where David ended up at. Okay? So it's all tied to the giant right here. Anyway, 20. At that time, the Lord again appeared to Abraham in Hebron, and he said unto him, do not fear, thy reward is very great before me, for I will not leave thee until I shall have multiplied thee and blessed thee and made thy seed like the stars in heaven, which cannot be measured for a number. So I want to shine light on something because I was talking about it the other day. So it says that when you start breaking down and getting an understanding of the meanings and Hebrew understanding of certain things, well, one of the aspects of Michael is when he appeared. It's an aura, it's an intense fear that's around him. He makes everybody get scared. It's like when they showed up when Daniel had those men with him, when they showed up, Daniel had already dealt with him before, so he was afraid, but he wasn't. The other men they took off and left Daniel standing there. So look, notice what he said right here. Let me see. Said 21, and I will give thee unto thee the seed of all these lands. And 20. And at that time, the Lord again appeared to Abraham, right, in Hebron, and he said unto him, do not fear. See that? So when he show up, he already knows fear already there. So we gotta tell them, don't be afraid, relax. Take 3 deep breaths. You hear me? So I came here to holler at you. So that's I just shine a light on that. So he says, thy reward is very great before me, for I will not leave thee until I have multiplied thee and blessed thee and made thy seed like the stars of heaven, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And I will give unto thy seed all these lands. See that? All these lands with an S on, that thou seest with thine eyes. To them will I give them for an inheritance forever. Only be strong and do not fear. See that? Walk before me and be perfect. Okay? And in the 8th year of the life of Abraham, in that year died Rahu, the son of Peleg, and all the days of Ruth were 239 years, and he died. And Sarah, the daughter of Haran, Abraham's wife, was still barren in those days, and she did not bear to Abraham either son or daughter. And when she saw that she bore no children, she took her handmaid Hagar, whom Pharaoh had given her, and she gave her to Abraham. She gave her to Abraham, her husband, for a wife. Right? Okay. Let's look at that. For Hagar learned all the ways of Sarah, as Sarah had taught her. They don't tell us that. Hagar learned, see this? All the ways of Sarah, as Sarah taught her. She was not in any way deficient in following her good ways. See that? So that's a sign right there. Our understanding has been skewed. But it means that we ain't operating like Sarah operated. We all off on some more stuff. So that's got to come into play when the Most High come back. All that's got to come back to the light. 26 says, Sarah said to Abraham, behold, here is my handmaid Hagar. Go to her, that she may bring forth upon my knees, that I may also obtain children through her. And at the end of 10 years of Abraham dealing in the land of Canaan, which is 85th year of Abraham's life, Sarah gave Hagar unto him. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of his wife Sarah, and he took his handmaiden Hagar, and Abraham came to her, and she conceived. And when Hagar saw that she had conceived, she rejoiced greatly, and her mistress was despised in her eyes. And she said within herself, this can only be that I am better than God, before God than Sarah my mistress. For all the days that my mistress have been with my Lord, she did not conceive. But me, the Lord has caused in so short a time to conceive by him. So let's look at that, because this is humongous. So, all right, Sarah was up here. I just read 25. Hey, Sarah ain't know nothing. Hagar ain't know nothing about nothing. So Hagar learned all the ways from Sarah that Sarah had taught her. She was not in any way deficient in following her good ways. So let's look at this. So Abraham taught Sarah. Sarah taught Hagar, right? Now look what Hagar do as soon as she got the opportunity. 27. This is the imagination of a person's own mind. So 27. And at the end of 10 years, Abraham dwelling in the land of Canaan, which is the 85th year of Abraham's life, Sarah gave Hagar unto him, right? She taught her how to operate in the bedroom and everywhere, how to operate with Abraham. She taught all that. 28. Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah, his wife, to his wife Sarah, and he took his handmaiden Hagar, and Abraham came to her, right? She could see. Now, as she could see, here you go. And when Hagar saw, see that? This is her own imagination. And when Hagar saw that she had conceived, she rejoiced greatly, and her mistress was despised in her eyes. See that? She went all the way to the left, prim road. And she said within herself, see that? She ain't got no counseling from Sarah, and she ain't got no counseling from Abraham. She said within herself. See that? It's dangerous. This can only be, see that? I am better before God than Sarah, my mistress. Let that firmate. This is what she came up with. Come on. I am better before God than Sarah, my mistress. For all the days that my mistress has been with my Lord, she did not conceive. But me, the Lord has caused in a short time to conceive by him. See that? So she all off on prim road. So let's look at that. Let's do a comparison and contrast. So the Ham and the Gentile, the Egyptian, they don't know nothing about the Most High's law, statutes, and judgment. So a woman have a man have a male child, and then now the woman got to be greater than the man because she gave birth to the man. But these Egyptian, the European, and all these other folks, JFAT, don't know a damn thing about the Most High order. Not understanding that the Most High made, in the beginning, he made the woman to help me. And he made her to bring forth the male, the seed of the man that he put over the planet. But the Egyptian, in his own mind, when he seen that, the Pharaoh being birthed by a woman, the woman got to be God. If the Pharaoh is king, then the woman got to be God. But that's from his own imagination. He not getting the understanding, like we just saw that Shem is Melchizedek. If you don't understand what's going on with that, go ask Shem. And Shem will break it down for you. But they ain't got no understanding, so they done came up with all this nonsense because they don't have no understanding. He's just looking at it with her eyes. So let's look at it again. So she says, Abraham hearkened to the voice of his wife Sarah, and he took his handmaiden Hagar, and Abraham came into her, and she conceived. Now, and she don't understand that Lord of hosts back here holding wombs and giving wombs and closing wombs, opening wombs. He's in the background doing the most. See, so 29, and when Hagar saw, see that? Abraham ain't in the picture and Sarah ain't in the picture. When Hagar saw that she had conceived, she rejoiced greatly, and her mistress was despised in her eyes. And she said within herself, this can only be that I am better than God, than Sarah, my mistress. For all the days that my mistress have been with my Lord, she did not conceive. But me, the Lord have caused in a short time to conceive by him. And when Sarah saw that Hagar had conceived by Abraham, Sarah was jealous of her handmaiden, and Sarah said within herself, see that? There goes Sarah. Just like Hagar did, Sarah off on her own. She ain't went and talked to Abraham. Sarah said within herself. See how it's going? We got all over on Prim Road. See that? This is surely nothing else but that she must be better than I am. See that? It ain't got nothing to do with that. 31. And Sarah said unto Abraham, my wrong be upon thee, for at the time when thou didst pray before the Lord for children, why did thou not pray on my account, that the Lord should give me seed from thee? So let's look at that. So 31. Sarah said to Abraham, my wrong be upon me. So way up there, she jumped up because she ain't had no kids and gave Hagar to Abraham. Now she done had Sarah had a baby at a whim. Now she's saying that she was wrong. My wrong be upon thee. Now here we go. For at that time when thou didst pray, like I said, I ain't write this, so don't put it off on me. Say, for at that time when thou didst pray before the Lord for children, why did thou not pray on my account? See, now she could have asked this question up there. She could have asked Abraham this question right here up there. It says, and when I speak, when I speak unto Abraham, okay, it says, and Sarah said unto Abraham, my wrong be upon thee. For at the time when thou didst pray, see that? Before the Lord for children, why did thou not pray on my account, that the Lord should give me seed from thee? And when I speak to Hagar in the present, she despised my words, because she has conceived, and thou wilt say nothing to her. May the Lord judge between me and thee, for what hast thou done to me? See that? Now it's Abraham's problem. Abraham's fault. Abraham said to Sarah, behold, thy handmaiden is in thy hand. Do unto her as it may seem good in thine eyes. And Sarah afflicted her, and Hagar fled from her to the wilderness. And the angel of the Lord found her in the place where she had fled by a well. And he said to her, do not fear. They go to fear again. For I will multiply thy seed. For thou shalt bear a son, and thou shalt call his name Emmanuel, Ishmael. Now then return to Sarah thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hand. And Hagar called the place of that well Beer-Lahai. Okay, so that it is between Kadesh and the wilderness of Bered. So let's look at this. 34. The angel of the Lord, see that? Lord of hosts had to show up. The angel of the Lord found her in a place where she had fled by a well. And he said to her, do not fear, lo, I will multiply thy seed, for thou shalt bear a son, and thou shalt call his name Ishmael. Now then return to Sarah thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hand. See that? So it's the angel of the Lord that showed up. See that? She was heading down another road. She already went out on Prim Road. She heading down another road. But the Lord of hosts had to come and clean it up and say, go back. Go back to Hagar and submit yourself. You had to clean it up. Why are you doing that on Abraham's account? You had to go clean it up. Imagine if he hadn't showed up right here. Okay? 36. And Hagar at that time returned, see that, to her master's house. And at the end, Hagar at that time returned to her master's house. And at the end of days, Hagar bore a son to Abraham, and Abraham called his name Ishmael, and Abraham was 80 years old when he begot him. So just like he told her, came down the pipe. Just like he told her. Like I said, imagine if he hadn't showed up. And like I said, 2,500 years, he ain't showed up in our affairs. So imagine where the hell we at. So I'm in chapter 17. And in those days, anybody got any comments before I go to 17? Any comments? Okay. Chapter 17. And in those days, in the 91st year of the life of Abraham, the children of Chechem made war with the children of Tubal. For when the Lord had scattered the sons of men upon the face of the earth, the children of Chechem went and invited themselves in the plains of Canopy, and they built themselves cities there and dwelt by the river of Tiber. And the children of Tubal dwelt in Tushna, and their boundaries reached the river of Tabor, and the children of Tubal built a city in Tuscany, and they called the name of Sabonia after the name of Sabonia, the son of Tubal, their father, and they dwelt there until this day. And it was at the time of the children of Chechem made war with the children of Tubal. And the children of Tubal were smitten before the children of Chechem, and the children of Chechem caused 360 men to fall from the children of Tubal, and at that time the children of Tubal swore to the children of Chechem, saying, "Ye shall not intermarry amongst us, and no man shall give his daughter to any of the sons of Chechem. For all the daughters of Tubal were in those days fair, for no woman was there found in the whole earth so fair as the daughters of Tubal." So when you understand that, let's look at it right quick. We've been over this before, but we're coming from another angle. So I'm just gonna show you this right quick. Thinking like a Hebrew. So Genesis chapter 6. Like I say, I ain't write it. So it says right here. I told you a long time ago that right here, verse 1, and it came to pass when the men began to multiply on the face of the earth, the daughters were born unto them, right? It says these Gentiles, you need to know that. I'm gonna show you that in a minute. That the sons of God saw that the daughters of men, these Gentiles, that they were fair. See that? They were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Let's go back and look at what they say over here. Okay, so it says, chapter 17, verse 5. All the daughters of Tubal, Gentiles, Japhet, were in those days fair, for no woman were there found in the whole earth as fair as the daughters of Tubal. This is what the giants came. That's what the angels came down and deal with. It says, and all who delighted in the beauty of the women went to the daughters of Tubal and took wives from them, and the sons of men, kings and princes, who greatly delighted in the beauty of women, took wives in those days from the daughters of Tubal. This is what brought about Troy and Sparta, the war, the woman that was behind that war. It says, and at the end of 3 years, as the children of Tubal had sworn to the children of Chechem not to give them daughters for wives, all about 20 men of the children of Chechem went and to take some of the daughters of Tubal, but they found none. But the children of Tubal kept their oath not to intermarry with them, and they would not break their oath. And in those days, days of harvest, the children of Tubal went into their fields to keep their harvest. And when the young men of Chechem assembled and went to the city of Sabonia, their harvest, Sabonia, and each man took a young woman from the daughters of Tubal, and they came to their cities. And the children of Tubal heard of it, and they went to make war with them, and they could not prevail over them, for the mountain was exceedingly high from them. And when they saw they could not prevail over them, they returned to their land. In the revolution of the year, the children of Tubal went and hired about 10,000 men from those cities that were near them, and they went to war with the children of Chechem. And the children of Tubal went to war with the children of Chechem to destroy their land and to distress them. And in this engagement, the children of Tubal prevailed over the children of Chechem. And the children of Chechem, seeing that they were greatly distressed, lifted up the children which they had by the daughters of Tubal upon the wall which had been built to be before the eyes of the children of Tubal. And the children of Chittim said to them, have you come to make war with your own sons and daughters? And have you not been considered your flesh and bone from that time till now? And when the children of Tubal heard this, they ceased to make war with the children of Chittim, and they went away. And they returned to their cities, and the children of Chittim at that time assembled and built 2 cities by the sea, and they called one Peruta and the other Arizah. And Abraham, the son of Terah, was then 99 years old. And at that time the Lord appeared to him and said unto him, I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will greatly multiply thy seed. And this is the covenant which I will make between me and thee, that every male child be circumcised, thou and thy seed after thee. At 8 days old shall be circumcised. This covenant will be in the flesh for an everlasting covenant. And now therefore thy name shall no more be called Abram, but Abraham, and thy wife shall no more be called Sarai, but Sarah. For I will bless you both, and I will multiply your seed after you, that you shall become a great nation. The king shall come forth from you. Okay, that was chapter 17. Any comments? Let me deal with this right quick while I'm in between these chapters. It says, is the battle of the 5 kings versus 4 kings the Torah account of the 1,000 giant war? Yeah, it's actually a million giant war. It's a million giant war. So yeah, that's it, same thing. Let's see what this talking about. It says regarding Ezekiel 44, 1 through 5, question 30. I asked the same question 9/6/21, 1 hour 37 minutes, and you said the prince was Michael. Could you address this at a later time? Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. Okay, let me get over here. I'm in chapter 18. It says, Abraham rose and did all that God had ordered him, and he took the men of his household and those he bought with his money, and he circumcised them as the Lord had commanded him, and there was not one left whom he did not circumcise. And Abraham and his son Ishmael was circumcised in the flesh of their foreskin. 13 years old was Ishmael when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And the 3rd day Abraham went out of his tent and sat at the door to enjoy the heat of the sun during the pain of his flesh. And the Lord appeared to him in the plains of Mamre. There we go again. And sent 3 of his ministering angels to visit him. And he was sitting at the door of the tent. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and lo, 3 men were coming from distance. And he rose up and he ran to meet them. And he bowed down to them and bowed himself into his house and brought himself into the house. And he said to them, if now I have found favor in your sight, turn in and eat a morsel of bread. And he pressed them, and they turned in, and he gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he placed them under a tree at the door of the tent. And Abraham ran and took a calf, tender and good, and he hastened to kill it, and gave it to his servant Eliezer to dress. And Abraham came to Sarah into the tent, and he said to her, make ready quickly 3 morsels of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes to cover the pot containing the meat. And she did so. And Abraham hastened and brought before them butter and milk, beef and mutton, and gave it before them to eat before the flesh of the calf was sufficiently done, and they did eat. And when they had done, they were done eating, one of them said to him, I will return to thee according to the time of life, and Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And the men afterward departed and went their ways to the places on which they were sent. And in those days all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah and the whole 5 cities were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord, and they provoked the Lord with their abominations, and they strengthened in the aging, and they strengthened in aging abominably and scornfully before the Lord, and their wickedness and crimes were in those days great before the Lord. And they had in their land a very extensive valley, uh, about half a day's walk. In it, and in it there were fountains of water, and a great deal of heritage surrounding the water. And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went there 4 times in the year with their wives and children, and all belonged to them, and they rejoiced with timbrels and dances. Timbrels and dances. Okay, it says, and in the time of the rejoicing, they walked all, they would all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' wives, and some, the virgins and daughters of their neighbors, and they enjoyed them, and each man saw his wife and daughter in the hands of the neighbor, and did not say a word. And they did so from morning to night, and they afterwards returned home, each man to his house, each woman to her tent. So they always did 4 times in a year. Also, when a stranger came into the city and brought goods which he had purchased with a view to dispose of there, the people of these cities would assemble, men, women, and children, young and old, and go to the men and take his goods by force, giving a little to each man until there was an end of all the goods of the owner which he had bought into the land. And if the owner of the goods quarreled with them, saying, "What is this work which ye have done to me?" then they would approach to him one by one, and each would show him the little which he had took, and taunt him, saying, "I only took that little which thou didst give me." And when he heard this from them all, he would arise and go from them in sorrow and bitterness of soul. And when they would all arise and go after him and drive him out of the city with great noise and tumult. And there was a man from the country of Edom who was leisurely going on the road, seated upon his ass, which carried fine metals of divine colors, and mantles, was bound with cord upon the ass. And the man was on his journey, passing through the streets of Sodom when the sun set in the evening, and he remained there in order to abide during the night. But no one would let him into his house. And at that time, there was in Sodom a wicked and mischievous man, one of skill to do evil, and his name was Hadad. Yeah, remember I told you about that? This DAD. Hadad says, and he lifted up his eyes and he saw the traveler in the streets of the city. And he came to him and said, "Whence comest thou, and whither doest thou go?" And the man said to him, "I am traveling from Hebron to Elam, where I belong. And as I passed, the sun set, and no one would suffer me to enter his house, though I had bread and water, and also straw and provisions for my ass, and I am short of nothing." And Hadad answered and said unto him, "All that thou shalt want shall be supplied by me, but in the streets thou shalt not abide all night." And Hadad brought him to his house, and he took off the mantle from the ass with the cord, and brought them in his house. And he gave the ass straw and provenders, while the traveler ate and drank in Hadad's house. And he abode there that night. And in the morning, the traveler rose up early to continue his journey. And when Hadad said to him, "Wait, comfort thy heart with a morsel of bread, and then go." And the man did so, and he remained with him. And they both ate and drank together during the day. And when the man arose to go, Hadad said to him, "Behold, now the day is declining. Thou hadst better remain all night, that thy heart may be comforted." And he pressed him so that he tarried there all night. And on the second day, he rose up early to go away. And when Hadad pressed him, saying, Comfort thy heart with a morsel of bread, and then go," and remained and ate with him also the second day. And then the man rose up to continue his journey. And Hadad said to him, "Behold, now the day is declining. Remain with me to comfort thy heart." and in the morning rise up early and go thy way. And the man would not remain, but rose and saddled his ass. And while he was saddling his ass, the wife of Hadad said to her husband, Behold, this man has remained with us for 2 days, eating and drinking, and has given us nothing. And now shall he go away from us without giving anything? And Hadad said to her, Be silent. And the man saddled his ass to go, and he asked Hadad to give him cord and a mantle to tie upon his ass. And Hadad said to him, What said thou? And he said to him, that thou, my Lord, shall give me the cord and the mantle made with divers colors, which thou didst conceal with thee in thy house to take care of it. And Hadad answered the man, saying, This is the interpretation of thy dream. The cord which thou didst see means that thy life will be lengthened out like a cord, and having seen the mantle cord with all sorts of colors means that thou shalt have a vineyard in which thou wilt plant trees of all fruit. And the traveler answered, saying, Not so, my Lord, for I was awake when I gave thee cord and also a mantle woven with different colors, which thou didst take off of the ass to put them by for me. And Hadad answered and said, Surely I have told thee the interpretation of the dream, that it is good, that is a good dream, and this is the interpretation thereof. Now the sons of men give me 4 pieces of silver, which is my charge for interpreting dreams, and of thee only I require 3 pieces of silver. And the man was provoked at the words of Hadad, and he cried bitterly, and he brought Hadad to Sirach, the judge of Sodom. The man laid his cause before Sirach, the judge, and when Hadad replied, saying, It is not so, but thus the matter stands. And the judge said to the traveler, This man Hadad telleth the truth, for he is famed in the city for the acute interpretation of dreams. And the man cried at the words of the judge, and he said, Not so, my lord, for it was in the day that I gave him the cord and the mantle which was upon his ass, in order to put them by his house. And they both disputed before the judge, the one saying thus the matter was, and the other declaring otherwise. And Hadad said to the man, Give me 4 pieces of silver that I charge for my interpretation of the dream, and I will not make any allowance, and give me the expense of the 4 meals that thou didst eat in my house. And the man said to Hadad, Truly, I will pay thee for what I ate in thine house. Only give me the cord and the mantle which thou didst conceal in thy house. And Hadad replied before the judge and said to the man, Did I not tell thee the interpretation of the dream? The cord means that thy days shall be prolonged like a cord, and the mantle that thou wilt have a vineyard in which thou wilt plant all kinds of fruit trees. This is the proper interpretation of thy dream. Now give me the 4 pieces of silver that I require as a compensation, for I will make thee no allowance. And the man cried at the words of Hadad, and they both quarreled before the judge. And the judge gave orders to his servant, who drove them rashly from the house. And they went away, quarreling from the judge. And when the people of Sodom heard them, and they gathered about them, they exclaimed against the stranger, and they drove him rashly from the city. And the man continued his journey upon his ass with bitterness of soul, lamenting and weeping. And while he was going along, he wept at what had happened to him in the corrupt city of Sodom. Okay. So this kind of stuff that was going on in Sodom right here. God is totally, man asked him one question, and he totally went off on something else, knowing he had the man possess expensive possessions. He just went off and told him something else, gave him a dream interpretation, and kept his stuff. So it wasn't just sexual perversion that was going on in Sodom that most had a problem with. It was stuff like this right here. Any comments? Everybody good?
All good.
Okay. Yeah, I got read one more. I got chapter 19. Got about 25 minutes. It says, and all the cities of Sodom had 4 judges to 4 cities, and these were their names. Sirach is in the city of Sodom, Shurach in Gomorrah, Zabna in Ada, and Menon in Zebulun. And Eleazar, Abraham's servant, applied to them different names. And he converted Sirach to Shirach, and Shirach to Shurach, Zebnak to Kezabun, and Menon to Mazadon. Okay, I can't pronounce these words. So 3, and by desire of their 4 judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah had beds erected in the streets of the city. And if a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of these beds, and they forced made him to lie with them in them. See that? So there's homosexuality going on. Says, and as he lay down, 3 men were standing at his head and 3 at his feet, and measuring him by the length of the bed. And if a man was less than the bed, 6 men was less than the bed. These 6 men would stretch him at each end, and when he cried out to them, they would not answer him. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together 2 sides of the bed at each end, until the man had reached the gates of death. And if he continued to cry out to them, they would answer him, saying, Thus shall it be done to a man that cometh in our land. And when the men heard all these things that the people of the city of Sodom did, they refrained from coming there. And when a poor man came to their land, they would give him silver and gold, and cause a proclamation in the whole city not to give him a morsel of bread to eat. And if the stranger should remain there some days and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death, all the people of the city would come and take their silver and their gold, which they had given him. And those that could recognize the silver or the gold, which they had given him, took it back. And at his death, they also stripped him of his garment, and they would fight about them. And he that prevailed over his neighbor took him, and they would, after that, carry him and bury him under some of the scrubs in the desert. So they did all these days to anyone that came to them and died in their land. And in the course of time, Sarah sent Eleazar to Sodom and to see Lot and inquire after his welfare. And Eleazar went to Sodom, and he met a man of Sodom fighting with a stranger. And the man of Sodom stripped the poor man of all his clothes and went away. And this poor man cried to Eleazar and supplicated his favor on account of what the man of Sodom had done to him. And he said to him, Why doest thou act thus to the poor man who came to thy land? And the man of Sodom answered Eleazar, saying, It is this man thy brother, or have the people of Sodom made thee a judge this day, that thou speakest about this man? Then Eleazar strove with the man of Sodom on account of the poor man. And when Eleazar approached to recover the poor man's clothes from the man of Sodom, he hastened and with a stone smote Eleazar in the forehead. And the blood flowed copiously from Eleazar's forehead. And when the man saw blood, he caught hold of Eleazar, saying, Give me my hire for having revealed this bad blood that was in thy forehead. For such is the custom and a law in our land. And Eleazar said to him, Thou hast wounded me and required me to pay thee thy hire. And Eleazar would not hearken to the words of the men of Sodom. And the men laid hold of Eleazar and brought him to Shirach, the judge of Sodom, for judgment. And the man spoke to the judge, saying, I beseech thee, my lord, Thus has this man done, for I smote him with a stone, that the blood flowed from his forehead, and he is unwilling to give me my hire. And the judge said to Eleazar, this man speaketh truth to thee. Give him his hire, for this is a custom in our land. And Eleazar heard the words of the judge, and he lifted up a stone and smote the judge. And the stone struck on his forehead, struck it on his forehead, and the blood flowed copiously from the forehead of the judge. And Eleazar said, if this then is the custom of your land, give unto this man what I could have given to him. For this has been thy decision. Thou didst decree it. Okay. It says that Eleazar left the man of Sodom with the judge, and he went away. And when the kings of Edom made war with the kings of Sodom, the kings of Edom captured all the property of Sodom, and they took Lot captive with his property. And when it was told Abraham, he went and made war with the kings of Edom, and recovered from their hands all the property of Lot, as well as the property of Sodom. We just read that. And at that time, the wife of Lot bore him a daughter, and he called her name Paula, saying, because God hath delivered him and his whole household from the kings of Edom. And Paula, daughter of Lot, grew up, and one of the men of Sodom took her for a wife. And a poor man came into the city to seek a maintenance. And he remained in the city some days, and all the people of Sodom caused a proclamation of their custom not to give this man a morsel of bread to eat until he dropped dead upon the earth. And they did so. And Paula, daughter of Lot, saw this man lying in the streets, starved with hunger, and no one would give him anything to keep him alive. And he was just upon the point of death. And her soul was filled with pity on account of the man, and she fed him secretly with bread for many days. And the soul of this man was revived. And when he sent forth to fetch water, she would put the bread in the water pitcher. And when she came to the place where the poor man was, she took the bread from the pitcher and gave it to him to eat. So did many days, and all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah wondered how this man could have bore salvation for so many days. And they said to each other, this can only be that he eats and drinks. For no one can bear salvation for so many days to live in this, as this man had, without even his countenance changing. The three men concealed themselves in a place where the poor man was stationed, to know who it was that brought him the bread to eat. And Paula, daughter of Lot, went forth that day to fetch water, and she put the bread into her pitcher of water, and she went to draw the water by the poor man's place, and she took out the bread from the pitcher and gave it to the poor man, and he ate it. And the three men saw what Paula did to the poor man, and they said to her, it is thou then who have supported him, and therefore has he not starved, nor changed in appearance, nor died like the rest. And the three men went out of the place in which they were concealed, and they seized Pilate and the bread which was in the poor man's hand. And they took Pilate and brought her before the judge, and they said to them, thus did she do, and it was she who supplied the poor man with bread. Therefore did he not die all this time. Now therefore declare to us the punishment due to this woman for having transgressed our law. And the people of Sodom and Gomorrah assembled and kindled a fire in the streets of the city, and they took the woman and cast her into the fire, and she was burned to ashes. And in the city of Ada there was a woman to whom they did the like. For a traveler came into the city of Ada and abide there all night with the intention of going home in the morning. And he sat opposite the door of the house, and the woman's father to remain there as the sun had set when he had reached that place. And the young woman saw him sitting by the door of the house and he asked her of a drink of the water, and she said to him, "Who art thou?" And he said to her, "I was this day going on the road and reached here when the sun set, so I abide here all night, and in the morning I will arise early and continue on my journey." And the young woman went into the house and fetched the man's bread and water to eat and drink. And his father became known to the people of Ada, and they assembled and brought the young woman before the judge, that they should judge her for this act. And the judge said, "The judgment of death must pass upon this woman because she transgressed our law. And this, therefore, is the decision concerning her." And the people of those cities assembled and brought out the young woman and anointed her with honey from her head to foot. And the judge had decreed, and they placed her before a swarm of bees, which were then in their hives, and the bees flew upon her and stung her that the whole body was swelled. And the young woman cried on account of the bees, but not one took or notice of her and pitied her, and her cries ascended unto heaven. And the Lord was provoked at this and at the works of the city of Sodom, for they had abundance of food and tranquility among them, and still would not sustain poor and the needy. And in those days their evil doings and sins became great before the Lord. So I'm gonna stop right there with that. So they this verse right here, this chapter right here, they just telling you, like they don't do in the King James, they telling you what was actually happening in Sodom and Gomorrah. And what I just read was it's telling you that when they put this woman to death, put the honey on her and let the bees sting her to death, was the last straw for the Most High. That's what brought about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. Anybody got any comments?
So it was more than just homosexual.
Right. It was all. Well, when you look at that, you can keep reading the rest of it, but when you look at the Acts, all that same stuff happening here in America.
Right. It reminds me of what's going on today.
Right. Exactly. Ain't nothing new under the sun.
Then they killed the woman for
So,
feeding a hungry man.
Right. And then the other guy stole the guy valuables, and then turned around and the man asked for him. He started talking about a dream and all that. He ain't trying to hear what he telling him about his jewelry and stuff he had got from the earlier that night to hold for him.
Right, running game like they do today. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Ain't nothing but it's this lewdness, man. That's what it's like 100-fold now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Ain't that something? Yeah. Anybody else got anything? Everybody good?
All
Okay.
good.
Yeah. So let me get over here and do this right here.